The theme for the month is tenacity, which is a word that just makes me smile. I love that word, tenacity. So you might be, So Merriam-Webster says tenacity, or the definition of tenacious, is not easily pulled apart, cohesive, tending to adhere or cling especially to another substance, persisting in maintaining, adhering to, or seeking something valued or desired. I like that last one. Persistent in maintaining, adhering to, or seeking something valued or desired. And I came to tenacious as the word of the month or the theme of the month because tenacious is one of the ways we describe one of our 12 attributes, the attribute of strength. But I like tenacious because we don't necessarily think of tenacious in a physical sense as much as strength. Strength, often people, when the first thing you think of strength is you think of muscles, maybe. Think of bodybuilder type things like that. And that's not to say that that's not an aspect of strength, but when we're talking about our spiritual attributes, that's probably not the first way that we're thinking about strength. And we may, if we're not feeling like a bodybuilder, we may think, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me. But if we think about tenacity, think about inner strength, well, that does apply to all of us. Charles Fillmore in Revealing Word defines strength. Of course, he doesn't have a definition for tenacity, but his definition for strength is the energy of God, freedom from weakness, stability of character, power to withstand temptation, capacity to accomplish. Strength is physical, mental, and spiritual. All strength originates in spirit, the thought and the word spiritually expressed being the manifestation. Now you might go, well, I don't always have the power to withstand temptation or the capacity to accomplish or any of those other things. That's okay. It's aspirational. It's aspirational. It is the fuel in our tank that gets us going, right? Well, zeal can be that too. And so I was thinking about strength and tenacity. I was thinking about all the things going on in our world. There's always so many things going on in our world, it seems. I think that it's really helpful. It's helpful for me to remember and bring compassion in for myself. To remember that our bodies, our nervous systems are not meant for this. They're not meant for 24-hour world news cycles. If you think about 150 years ago and before, all time before that, people mostly were concerned and knew what was happening, with maybe 100, 150 people in their closest neighborhood. You might read the news and hear what's going on in other places. You might be interested in those things, but they weren't showing up all the time. You read the newspaper, you knew what was going on if you could read. And then you went out and you plowed the field, or you went out and put horseshoes on horses, or whatever you did those things. And the mental load, the emotional load that we have because of the world we live in now is really not what our bodies are meant for. And that's not to say that we should just turn off and not pay attention and care about these things. I think that we should, but we should also let it be okay if we decide that today is a day for going for a walk and not paying attention to those things, or today is a day to reach out and connect with a friend and take care of ourselves. We can't always be on top of every single thing, because we'll just burn out and we can't do all the things. I also read someone else said something was really powerful to me, because you think about all the different, I mean, there's so many things. There's always so many things, and they all are important and they all matter. But instead of trying to do something about all the different things, if we focus mostly on the thing that's our thing, and we pull that thread and make that difference on the thread that's ours to pull, you know, it's all part of the tapestry. And it makes a difference when we pull that thread. And so, what does it have to do with strength? Everything. Because we talk about a persistent in maintaining, adhering to, or seeking something valued or desired. So what is that thing? Well, I mean, a persistent in maintaining and sticking with it, that is strength. It takes a lot of strength to do that, whatever that thing is. When I think of strength or tenacity or courage, courage is another word we can use that falls in this arena. I think about someone in recovery who makes the choice every day to stay sober, sometimes every hour. I think about a parent advocating for their child. I think about choosing to follow inner wisdom, even if it's not what others think is the right choice. I think about making a change in a relationship, or choosing boundaries and maintaining boundaries. I think about walking the hard path, but the one that you know is the right path. Those are just a few pictures of what strength looks like, what tenacity looks like, how pulling our thread can make a difference. Sharing our experience can help others understand their experience and heal and grow and share and continue. So something comes up. And now, as there is war happening in Europe, as there is a rise in murders in the United States of America, as there are all sorts of things happening, both in the lives of those 100 people that we keep track of closely, and our global family. In Unity, we teach there's one presence and one power, period. Some people say one presence and one power, God the good. Some people say one presence and one power, God, period. Some people say omnipotent, all the different things, but one presence and one power, God. That's it. And then when you say that, especially when there's always been stuff. There's always stuff. We haven't all reached enlightenment as a world yet. And so there's stuff. But people go, there's always the what abouts, the what abouts, the what abouts, what about, but what about, but what about, what about? So they've been rising again. Well, what about? And I say, there's one presence, one power, God, period. And then there's humans who do stuff with that. And so I think I was teaching my metaphysics class this last week, and it was really well timed because the chapter we were talking about was about sin and evil and the devil and all this stuff, right? And what does Una teach about these things? And somebody said, well, why doesn't anybody talk about that on Sunday? I'm like, I don't know, because they're chicken. I don't know. So I'm not chicken, so I'm going to talk about it. And this is, I think, just a fabulous perspective. Anyway, I know you're going to think, what is wrong with her when you, and I'm about to tell you the quote okay, I'm excited about this quote because I think it's really juicy. So this is also from Charles Phil Miller, also from The Revealing Word, which is pretty much just his definition book. And he writes, evil is a parasite. It has no permanent life of its own. Its whole existence depends on the life it borrows from its parents. And when its connection to the parent is severed, nothing remains. Evil is a parasite. Evil is not a power in and of itself, because there's one power, that's God. Evil is something, or when so some people go, oh, big word, evil. It's one of those 4-letter words, right? So the thing is, we have all these divine ideas. You know, we talked about our 12 powers. Those are divine ideas of strength and wisdom and love. Release, very important. All of those, all of them, very important. And yet we come at them through our filters of our experience. We come at them through our filters of whatever we have going on for us. We come at that through our filters of not having our needs met. You know, we all have these basic needs of love and community and connection and safety and nourishment, all of those things. We all have all of those, you know, we have these same needs. But at some point, we don't have them met. It happens to all of us. And for some people, they come up with really interesting strategies to resolve the unmet need. Interesting is sort of in quotes there. Sometimes we would call them unhealthy or less effective or harmful. Come up with all sorts of ways to get our needs met. So when we feel separate, I'm just going to kind of put it on a spectrum here. So if we're feeling separate, we couldn't, there's lots of different methods to get the need for connection met, right? We could meditate. That's definitely a good strategy. Could laugh. Could find somebody to hug. Could go out in nature. I would say that those would fall on the healthy side of things, right? And then, you know, it's a spectrum, right? So it's not like, but where we could engage in some creative activity. Maybe we go to a sports game and we feel connection with the other fans. Unfortunately, there's an other when you go to a sports game, but you know, we at least have connection with the fans. We maybe will have gatherings, but then we can also, there's also other ways. We can dull the pain with a substance, which maybe in moderation isn't awful, but maybe we take that too far. We can dull the pain of separation with aggression, with control, with harming, with grasping, with taking, with hurting. It's all the same place of missingness. different strategies to resolve it. So you see, maybe, how evil is a parasite. Things that we see as unhealthy ways of dealing with the world or unhealthy ways of interacting with each other is because a person is missing something, missing who they really are. And when that person, when you turn around and say, oh, I am an expression of the divine, then there's nowhere for the unhealthy behavior to attach to anymore. Oof. Now, we can't go around fixing other people. We can try. Doesn't usually work. But I do believe that we can help create the environment for transformation. We can create an environment where people can find and learn and practice better skills, right? Partly through us using our own better skills and healing those connections and continuing to do the work. And that's where strength and tenacity, once again, come in. Because it's sometimes it's easier to do it's easier to do the less hard thing, obviously, right? It's easier to do the less hard thing. Usually the less hard thing is the thing that isn't as helpful in the long term. So we use our power of strength, our tenacity, even our courage to make the boundary, to follow through on the thing that is difficult, to continue the path, whether that's, upping our meditation practice, whether that's, changing the relationship with someone who it's not a healthy situation, whether it's, doing something new, whether it's stopping something old. All of those steps in our own journey require this strength. We have it. You don't even have to turn it on. Really, it's more of just like an uncovering. It's there. It's ready to go. Sort of like the grass in my yard. It's ready to go. It's kind of covered in 1.5 feet snow, 2 feet. Ready to go when it's time. So let's, unbury it. So we step in to our strength. We have it. You have it. Step in to our tenacity. Now, see, if you take that too far, that can sound like stubbornness. And to someone who doesn't like you having boundaries all of a sudden, it can definitely sound like stubbornness. But if it's what your wisdom is saying is the right thing, then don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. If you know that in your heart that it's the right thing for you, then that's what matters, right? And this is everything about the spiritual journey is about coming into that, releasing the stories we were told, the stories we told ourselves, releasing the limits that we put on ourselves, and stepping into our truth, finding that strength, using the power of will to decide, this is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm going to go. This is mine to do. Using our wisdom to help us find the journey. Using our compassion to realize when it's time to just sit down by the side of the trail, figuratively or literally, for a minute or two, and breathe. Our key out of the cycle, the key to not feed the evil, not feed the goof ups, is to come into the truth of who we are. Continuing that journey. Now, I know evil. I said it. I'm not saying you're evil. I'm saying those little thoughts that try to keep you playing small. They're holding on to those stories you told about yourself, or someone told about you, or that you believe about your limits, right? And when you stop believing it, boom, they're gone. Because there's nothing for them to hold on to anymore. Isn't that exciting? I think it's exciting. It's just like that. You cut it off and it can't do it anymore. So there is one presence and one power in the universe, God, period. All the stuff that happens that doesn't look like that is because people are not getting their needs met, and they're finding really interesting and harmful sometimes ways to feel like they're getting their needs met. That doesn't mean we have to let them do it. They're causing harm. But that doesn't mean that they have some sort of evil, or that they have some sort of something that's inherently awful in them that is unredeemable. I believe it means that they've strayed very far from knowing the truth of who they are. And to me, that's very sad. And so we walk the path with strength, with clarity, with wisdom, with boundaries, and do our part, even if it's just in that 100 people, to make a difference in our world, make a difference in our lives. And that's something to celebrate.